Hi there. So I thought I would just do a little video with a specific example, thinking maybe this will help you sort of get things even more integrated in your whole mind and body. So here's the situation. I have a client who comes in. Here's my client. And I say, hey, how you doing? We socialize for a minute or two, make sure the relationship's strong, blah, 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 blah. The client says like, oh my gosh, I'm so overwhelmed. Well, of course they're overwhelmed because they've got all of these balls um, using up space in their present moment. So if you think about the plastic container here being the capacity, right? The capacity to be present in this moment right here, right now. And the space, the capacity is being used up by all of these issues, challenges, everything that our client is not at peace toward, uh, doesn't have an elevated pyramid toward. That takes up all the capacity, the ability to be present in this moment. So, of course, the more such balls there are, right, we could call them targets, the more such balls there are, the more to the left-hand side of the capacity continuum that client is, the less they can hold their groundedness, their centeredness, their sense of inner security, inner worth and value, right? The less they can hold the energy of that place, which of course is what we want to help them do. That is what the client capacity continuum is, an increasing ability to hold our worth and our value regardless of what is happening in the external world. Okay, great. So what am I going to do with this client? We're Overwhelm is at the top of the vibrational scale. So we're up in the holding the truth, holding the suffering area of the ladder of intensity. If it's way 10 plus, then I'm going to do a bronze plus regulation in this moment. If it's like 9, 8-ish, then I'm going to do holding the truth on the overwhelm. Even though, put my client down. Can we see the client? If I back up, can we see me and the client? Maybe not. Put the client down there. So I'm going to hold the truth on the overwhelm, even though I'm so overwhelmed in this moment, I don't know what to do. I love and accept myself. Okay. And then finish the round, breath, external orientation, flow question. What are you aware of now? Maybe the client says, wow, oh, that's what I needed. I feel a little more relief. So their intensity. And when I say, when we're up in the holding the suffering section, we're doing like soft testing. I'm not going on a scale of 0 to 10 because our non-differentiated differentiated client can't even come up with that kind of a number, not a meaningful number anyway. So I call it like a soft testing. It's like a checking in. How you doing now? And the client reports, well, I'm feeling a little bit more present here. Okay, great. So then I may say to them, well, yeah, there's a whole bunch of possible targets. So which one is drawing your attention right now? That would be good for us to work on. And the client says, well, I've got my mother-in-law stuff. I've got my son's teacher at school is causing us issues. I've got, hip pain in my left side. Oh, and I got this whole harness program thing. And so we begin to get a little bit more differentiated. I say, well, what is it about the harness program that is not sitting peacefully in you right now? And the client says, oh, I have this case study that I need to submit before such and such a date. Okay, great. So now we've actually got the not a smiley target, right? It's probably going to be this one to start with. Um, so now we've got the target, right? This top bobble of the pyramid is submitting case study. Okay, so now I'm just going to hold the truth, hold the suffering on that, even though I have this submitting the case study issue right now. I love and accept myself. Right, so I'm just going to hold the suffering on that. Just lubricate that nervous system. Let the nervous system realize, oh yeah, we heard you. We understand. Thank you so much for telling us this. Right, we're with you. That's what we're communicating to the nervous system. Okay, great. So we are holding the suffering on the overall issue. We come back in with a flow question. Hey, how's this sitting now? And the client says, well, yeah, that's feeling a little bit more settled on me. Now I'm thinking, well, maybe let me do a little bit more specific test on this and just see where we're at. So now I would say, okay, dear client, let's just check in. When you think all about this submitting a harness case study, how intense is that? How upsetting is that for you when you think about all of it right now? And the client says, oh, yeah, it's about an 8 or a 9. So I'm up still in the holding the suffering section. So I'd probably go back and just do a setup phrase, even though I have this upset around the harness case study submission. I love and accept myself. We go through the round, take a breath, externally orient. Probably would go and do a remainder round, even though there's some remainder of upset toward this submitting harness case study. Love and accept myself. Breathe, externally orient, come back in and check on the test. So dear client, just think all about this submitting the harness case study right now. How upsetting is that for you the moment? The client says, oh, it's, it was a little bit less. It's maybe a 6-ish. So now we've got enough capacity in the system in the moment that we can drop down into the middle of the ladder of intensity and start exploring the aspects. Okay, we've got the test on the target. We know there's a whole pyramid here. There's a mind pyramid, mind channel on the one side. There's the body channel on the other side that's going to have emotion, sensation, imagery, and then there's going to be the behavior channel right now. Okay. I might even go for the behavioral awareness right off the bat. And I'd say to the client, hey, when you think about how are you actually managing this intensity that you have toward the harness case study? And the client's going to say, well, yeah, I'm procrastinating, right? I'm just not doing it. Okay. Or they might say, well, yeah, I'm worrying about it. And I might ask, is that like are these common strategies for you when you have intensity about something that you procrastinate around it, or you have a pattern of worrying about it? Because I'm wanting to get some awareness of the patterns, behavioral patterns, thinking patterns, emotional patterns that the client is bringing into their relationship toward the target. Okay, so I'm wanting now to open up the aspects of the pyramid, because unless and until we can open them up, until the client has access to those channels, we can't have a possibility of integration. So first we need to differentiate them, meaning pull them apart from each other. And as we do that, then we open this possibility that we can begin to hold this more harmonious relationship between thoughts, emotions, sensations, behavior. Okay, so maybe I go first for the emotion channel. So I say, dear client, when you think all about this, submitting a harness case study, what's the dominant emotion that you're experiencing? There's probably going to be some level of anxiety, fear, however they say that. So now I can do a holding the, I could do a test on that. Dear client, how strong is that anxiety in this moment when you think about harness case study submission? They say it's like an 8. Okay, so now I'm back to holding the suffering on that. Could do a round on that, could do a remainder round on that, and then flow back in with a retest. Now when you think all about this harness case submission, how strong is the anxiety in this moment? Client says, some version of it changed in some way. So then maybe I'll go to the sensation channel. So, dear client, where are you aware in your body that you actually hold this emotion of anxiety? And so the client says, so it's throbbing in my head, or it's a sharp pain in my left hip, or whatever it is. So we do some holding the truth around that, and then maybe a remainder round on that. We can come in and retest on the sensation. Remember, we're not trying to get rid of any of this. We are just exploring it. We are opening the client's capacity to be mindful of what's going on for themselves in their body, sensation, emotion, cognitions, behavior, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so great. So we've got the emotion channel beginning to open. We've got the sensation channel beginning to open. Then we could go over to the mind channel, which is what we're studying right now, right? So now here's where the power question comes in. So, dear client, right? When you think about all about this harness, blah, 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 what's the dominant thought that happens for you, right? And maybe the answer comes back, they're going to judge me, right? I'm not going to be good enough. So see how that's pointing toward the limiting belief, okay? And so we can tap on that, even though I have this thought that I have to do this perfectly, or even though I have this thought that people are going to judge me, or even though I have this thought. That opens the thread to the power question where I could say, help me make sense of this, right? I see this intelligent, wise person sitting in front of me that I know has the ability to create this case study and submit it, and then somehow this person isn't doing that. Help me make sense of that. What must this person be believing about themselves or believing about how they have to be in the world to be loved and acceptable? And that then is going to point to our box one limiting belief, some version of I have to do it perfectly, or I'm not going to do it well enough. I have to be perfect in order to be safe. Like some limiting belief, which is the conditioned cloud from the past. And it will be part of a whole slew of all these different balls, right? That there'll be a connecting thread around that belief. Okay, so that's great. We can tap on the belief. Of course, we're doing our phase 4 moments all the way along here. Testing on the target again, coming back to see what's happening there. As the phase 4 sparks are coming, we're reinforcing those. That begins to open the behavioral channel and the ITSA channel. So for example, maybe the phase 4 came in the cognitive channel, and the client says something like, well, actually that belief isn't true. I can see now how that came from my childhood, blah, 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 blah. I say, what's true about that now? What do you know to be true about yourself, about how you get to be in the world? And the client says something like, I can do my best and that's good enough. Okay, so now we've got a phase 4, box 2, right? My best is good enough. So when it comes to ITSA, then we got 2 very powerful directions to go for ITSAs. Number 1, ITSA is going to be, let's reinforce this belief that the client wants to believe, that my best is good enough. So let's get that on an index card. Let's make a creative way for them to be reinforcing this new belief that they want. But you see, the other ITSA then becomes action in the world. So, dear client, what is the first step now from this elevated vibration, elevated energy that you are holding toward, right? Toward the harness case submission? What's the first step? What's this next small step behavior toward submitting the case study? And so maybe the client says, well, I haven't done the practice session yet, so I need to reach out to somebody and set up the practice session. Great. What's the first small step toward doing that? Oh, I have to find so-and-so's email. Great. How? And we'll get further on, we'll talk more about how we're going to make sure those ITSAs are actually going to get done. But for the purposes of this little video, I just wanted to illustrate this process of how we're going to start with this de-elevated, non-differentiated relationship toward the target, and we're going to systematically use our ladder of intensity interventions to safely, in a titrated way, begin to shift this energy first into a place where we can expand the pyramid, and ultimately then to flip this pyramid into one which is 8C version of the relationship toward. Okay, hope that helps. Love to hear your comments, of course. Yeah, bye for now.